Artistry and Advocacy, the intersection of creativity and health equity. And moderating this is FAIR's Senior Grant Manager, Jean Heisel. She'll serve as moderator, and before joining, she's expert in this kind of area. We are so gifted, we are so lucky to have her on the FAIR team and here with us today. Before joining FAIR, which was just this year, right? Oh, God. Yeah. She worked for the DC Commission on the Arts and Humanities, providing grant support to artists and arts organizations throughout Washington, DC. She's been an arts educator for over 20 years, teaching music, movement, musical theater, improv, and audition techniques to all ages. Jean has performing credits in concerts, church music, recitals, musical theater, opera, voiceovers, film, and even a few national anthem appearances for the Washington Capitals and Wizards. Well, I guess we know what entertainment is tonight. Yeah.
Retired.
Oh, she's retired. All right. Take it up.
Thank you. Wow. That's pretty neat. Welcome, everyone. Thank you. We're hanging in here for the afternoon, and I'm delighted to be here. I have to wear my glasses to read my things, but and my role is to guide the conversation with this amazing panel, this remarkable group of artists, activists, and educators. So here's the plan. I'm going to do brief introductions, and I encourage you to go into the website or into the program and read their full biographies. It's very impressive. And then after that introduction, I'll have questions. We'll go down the panel, and we'll see where the conversation leads us. And then at 3:45, we have the unveiling. So we're very excited for that, of Luis Peralta de Valle's artwork, which was commissioned by FAIR for our very first neighborhood day. So, and with any time left, we'll open the floor up for some questions. So, with our distinguished panel, Dr. Miranda Ward, MPH, EDD, who is the Director of Equity at George Washington School of Medicine. Dr. Miranda Ward is an assistant professor of the Department of Clinical Research and Leadership, who designs, evaluates, and teaches health equity curriculum for students and faculty. Dr. Ward the research focus is on diversity, equity, inclusion, justice, and anti-racism educational interventions, as well as community-focused studies on HIV, Black women's health, and youth identity. And there's more, so read the bio. Luis Peralta de Valle, a multi-award-winning artist. Luis was born in Nicaragua and migrated to the U.S. in 1986. At the age of 13, Luis started painting graffiti murals in D.C. and in Maryland and Virginia, and through the DMV for the locals. That's what we call it. And he received his first commission at age 16. Luis continues to create highly acclaimed murals, portraits, sculptures, and paintings for prominent locations, organizations, and exhibitions throughout the D.C. area and beyond. And I'm delighted to introduce my former colleague, Dwayne Lawson Brown, who is the Community Engagement Specialist for the D.C. Commission on the Arts and Humanities. Dwayne received the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation's Emerging Leader Award, and the Mary Bowman Award for Advocacy through the Arts. Dwayne is sharing from 20 years of community outreach experience, specializing in using art to connect with hard-to-reach audiences. You can also find Dwayne behind the microphone at spoken word events and sharing his expertise in fiber arts at the Phillips Collection Museum across the bridge. And you can pick up an author with a new book. I'm shilling your book, Dwayne. Breaking the Blank, a collection of poetry with a friend from high school, Rebecca Bishop Hall, and another friend from is it back to high school, or another friend connection is that Dr. Ward and Dwayne are colleagues from way back. Mm-hmm. So that's the DC connections. And Brian is is our Director of Brand Brian Gove. Is that right, Gove? I didn't ask. I got it. All right. Director of Brand Marketing and Photographer for FAIR. Brian is responsible for assisting in the creation and development of the organization's overall marketing strategy. Brian is a creative marketing professional who specializes in brand storytelling, client relations, and digital engagement across all platforms. Brian is also an accomplished photojournalist whose work has been featured in publications around the world. So that's a lot. So there you go. And there's even more. All right. So if you'll allow me to begin with a quote from Luis Alfaro, a contemporary playwright, a community artist, and activist. And he's also an associate professor of dramatic writing at University of California School of Dramatic Arts. And this is the quote. The goal is to create the world that you want to see. That's always, always, always a challenge. So if art gives us an opportunity to create the world we want to see, then starting with Dr. Ward, how has art historically played a role in advancing community priorities and politics in marginalized communities?
Okay, so thank you so much for the question, and thanks, Fair, for the invitation to join today. So, before I answer the question, I just wanted to share that, my daddy is from New Orleans, my mom is from Arkansas, and, with the Great Migration, people from the South went out west. So that's where I'm from, born and raised in Southern California. And, so basically fast forward time, I've planted roots here in DC. I've been living in DC for 20 years now. Can you believe that? And I've planted some roots. I'm a proud Ward 7 homeowner. And art is would you agree that art is powerful? Would you agree that art is inclusive? Okay. So I want us to start on that last point, because not everybody agreed with that. So everybody agreed that it was powerful, but you're like, is it inclusive? Let's talk about it. So if we think about the fact that, why we would even rely on art forms. And yes, I'm a researcher and a faculty member. I'm a social behavioral scientist, which is why I posed the question about social behavioral studies. And I rely on art in the work that I do. I use art-based research methods. And I also, because I do lots of education, I use art forms for education, or what I describe as edutainment. So I literally have a peer education program with youth, which is how I know Dwayne. And those youth pull in hip hop and poetry and other forms of art, performative arts. And they literally travel around the city and they make a range of social justice issues come alive through these, performance-based workshops. Now, why I bring that up is because, sometimes when we think about art, it can feel intimidating as like, oh, well, I don't know how to fill in the blank. You feel like there's a certain skill level that's necessary to engage in it. But we think about art is about creating, like the purpose of art, right? Yes, we've basically created some hierarchy in art that was artificial and that wasn't to the true form of art. Art is about creation and expression, and any and everyone can do that, which is what makes it accessible and inclusive. But because of human nature, we've created social hierarchy, and there's high art, there's low art, right? And we also see how art gets co-opted. And so to this question around, the history of art forms and the way it can be used, for social change, it literally has been used for social change throughout the world. But I can start right in New York City with the beginning of hip hop, and thinking about hip hop culture and its many art forms from emceeing to DJing to graffiti, right? B-boys, B-girls, right? Breakdancing. And I just when I talk about the importance of really thinking about art forms and, how this is an outlet that you can express yourself in, you can create community and culture around. I think it is important for us to talk about, even though, yes, we know it's accessible and it's inclusive, we do have to, reckon with the history of that form so that we maintain its integrity. And the reason why I bring that up is because, for example, let's just think about the Olympics. Okay. Y'all already know what I'm going with this. So for those of us who watched the Olympics this past year for the very first time, look, she already shaking her head. She's like, cause it's embarrassing. Thank you. Exactly. She ruined it. She ruined it for everybody. But basically, for the very first time, there was breakdancing was included as, you know, one of the new sports, right? That they're going to, one of the new elements. And so, a woman from Australia, you know, basically she became a laughing stock around the world because she came in as the expert. Cause that's the thing. If you think about who gets invited to the Olympics, right? You literally are, considered a leader, an expert, you know, skilled, and you have been chosen by your country to represent this particular art form. This is the thing for people who aren't familiar with that art form. You're representing it, right? So then to get up there and make a mockery of this particular art form, and it was just very, this is an example of like how art forms get co-opted, right? So it's kind of like, like, who are you to, and again, and I want us to have this conversation. It's kind of like, on the one hand, we say, but I thought you said it's accessible. Anybody can use it. Absolutely. But that's why we have to have the conversation around understanding the history and maintaining the integrity, right? And so when you don't do that, then it becomes co-opted. And that is what happened on an international stage. And this is why, I don't know if that's why, but I feel like that's why breakdancing is no longer one of the new elements, one of the elements that's going to be invited back. But I bring that up as an example because I want us to be careful. On the one hand, yes, it's fun to, like, I don't know if you even know today is Black Poetry Day. And so, you know, we all was like, oh, let's all, pull out a piece of paper and let's write a poem. That's fine, right? I think that it allows for us to, you know, just feel like be in touch with our emotions. It allows for us to be connected, you know, across difference and really, really focus on like the human condition. So we know all of the entry points for art and why it has been used, you know, as a form of expression, whether we're talking about protest art, whether we're talking about, street art, right? Whether we're talking about, you know, the media ads, right? All of these different forms of art throughout the world that have been used to, you know, like throughout, you know, to bring about social change. But again, I do want to just recognize that tension because I think that's really important, from an equity perspective, because that actually leads to inequities around like who can access art and who gets to claim credit. You know, when it comes time for recognition, I think it's really important to, you know, to maintain kind of that voice equity. So I'll stop there and allow you to go to the rest of the panelists.
Okay. Thank you. So Dwayne, how has your work in community engagement helped bring marginalized voices to the forefront using art to break down health inequities?
Indeed. Well, to answer that question, I have to first acknowledge my voice has been a marginalized voice, within many spaces. And so my career has been a very interesting experience, right? So I started out 1999, I joined a group called the New School Activists as a peer educator, providing HIV prevention education programming through poetry, hip hop, and parody. Right. So I'm 16 years old doing cartwheels across stages, singing parody of, Cisco's Thong Song, rewritten as the wrong song about having a bad attitude. Right. And so in that, I saw that there was value in using my voice, value in being creative, and value in doing something positive. Right. All in that simple situation of like, oh, there's this poet that is able to do a cartwheel and is interested in being in front of crowds, right? I think a major part of creating space and opening spaces is being open yourself to the different personalities and people that you'll come across. You may be, at a event or a creative fair or a community, health day, and there'll be some person walks up, they may not be, dressed in the most fashionable fit. They may be a bit disheveled, but they'll have that one little spark, that idea, and they're looking for somebody to like say, hey, guess what? Here's that opportunity, right? There are a ton of artists that are creating amazing work and are looking for their cause, right? Food allergy and food allergy research can be that cause if we connect to them as a person. And that's what happened with me early on. That's what I still do to this day with the commission. Now I help people find out, about grant money and opportunities, but, a major component of those grants is how are you connecting with community, right? And speaking to a cause is a major way to do that. Whether it's, there's a lot of artists that work around gun violence prevention. There's no reason why there can't be as many, artists speaking about, food equity, about, food, allergies and helping people stay alive and helping people have better quality of life.
How would you recommend that people find these artists and reach out to them and initiate conversations?
So, depending on where you are, you can reach out to your, a local government, arts agency. Just about every state has a state arts agency. Whether your budget is open enough for, whether your state arts agency has an open enough budget, and to actually be funding a ton of artists, that's a little different. DC is a gift in that way.
DC is unusual in the amount of per capita spending for the arts.
Absolutely. Yeah. We're
complete outlier.
We're in the top 3% of providing funds, across the country. And so that's a very special thing. So my DC folk come talk to me. But you should be able to find artists, through your state arts agency. Also, I understand some people don't want to do the social media thing, but follow the scene in your city. In your rural area, cause don't get it twisted. Rural artists are creating amazing work as well. And don't always get the shine. And so your cause combined with their artwork can be the shine that both of your goals need.
Thank you. That's great. And here is one of the artists. Well, I'm going to with Luis. So what inspired you to create this artwork that we are going to unveil at the end of our session today? And how did you incorporate your community into this artwork with this very specific commission from FAIR?
The inspiration was really talking to the FAIR staff. I was in contact with Amber, Anita, Deb, and Elizabeth, and being able to communicate back and forth with them and see how much they were connected to their communities really helped me out, because sometimes you may be working with an organization, but they're not connected to the community because there's so many hierarchies and so many levels that they really don't know what's going on. And one of the things that I know about FAIR is that they were very responsive to everything. They were sensitive about how is it they're communicating the things to me. As artists, sometimes we can be very sensitive to criticism. And they were so gentle. And I can take criticism in a very good way. No, they didn't. It was, and they were so great when it comes to going back and forth, because when you commission a work of art, I'm not trying to put my vision out there. We're cooperating. It's a co-mission. You're working together, not only with them as individuals in an organization, but as a community as a whole. And one of the things that they were very, they really wanted to have is that we needed to be inclusive. And that's something that I believe you all mentioned, and several other people mentioned, that it doesn't just affect one race, the black, brown, but it affects everybody around the world, just the human race in general. And when I was contacted by Amber initially, I was just amazed that there is an organization that does this kind of work. Me being affected by allergies myself is something that I felt like I was almost alone at times, because even though you talk to people that have allergies, sometimes you don't really feel like a community. But coming here today, being inspired by our communication, they're telling me their vision, and their vision was so connected to an overall arching mission, not just of one local area, but a more worldwide area. So that was the inspiration behind it. And it was very easy to do, but at the same time challenging, because I was sent all these documents with all this information. And as artists, we have to, one of the things that Jan mentioned is we have to be able to communicate like a complex message that has so many layers in a very simple way. So that was the very challenging part, but I love challenges. And this was something that I enjoy so much doing, and just the staff was just so amazing to work with.
I would agree.
Yeah. Mm.
So in terms of advice to people who want to engage with artists, what takeaways or what guidelines what recommendations would you have for an organization in communicating with an artist?
Anytime you're trying to get a work of art created, whether it's personal or for your organization or a corporation, is that you have to find the right artist that's the right fit for what you're trying to do, because there's artists we kind of speak different languages. And we all are great at what we do, but sometimes you have to find the right artist that fits your goal, because some artists, we're very good at doing, commercial art. We have people that do high art. I happen to be in a way that I can do all kinds of art. And also be very careful how you talk to them. A lot of us are very sensitive. And what has helped me a lot is that I have children, and I have 2 kids, and if you want to hear the truth, ask your kids. And they have built I'm being very good at, I can take criticism. People can say the meanest thing to me, and I'm okay with it, but not all artists have that thick skin. So be very sensitive, and also do your research, and just find the right art. And sometimes ask them, you may not work for me, but do you have someone else? Because we work together, and I love, referring other artists to people. Yeah. I believe Amber was doing some research. Yeah. Thank you. Well,
And, full circle, Luis has been awarded grants from the DC Commission.
yes,
Yeah.
definitely. So,
Not just the individual grants, and you've had a mural. Did you get a murals grant as well?
So I do murals for different organizations, and DC Commission of the Arts, and like somebody says, DC is one of those cities that you can do everything here. You don't have to go to New York or California to be successful. You can actually, people come here from all over the world to, change laws and work with politicians. And that's why I tell young artists today, you don't have to go to New York or California to be successful. You can do it out of here. And Sam Gillian is one of my greatest, mentors that he passed away, but one of the people that I look up to. He never left DC. He stayed here, and
but
he did us work. Yeah.
Some terrific.
His legacy. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm going to do a time check. How are we doing? All right. Perfect. I'm going to send you out to prepare for the reveal while we talk to Brian. Brian, you are creating the visual storytelling, the visual imagery for FAIR. So can you speak to the importance of visual storytelling in FAIR's efforts to promote access and equity?
Yeah, absolutely. As FAIR's director of marketing on the brand side with a prior career in photojournalism, for over 15 years with Getty Images, I've really witnessed the power of imagery and visual storytelling to change perceptions, to drive awareness, and better yet, to build connections. When we integrate art into FAIR neighborhoods, we tap into these same dynamics to advance food allergy awareness, promote health equity. Visual storytelling has the ability to humanize statistics and data in a way that written information alone cannot. Through art forms like photography or large-scale community murals, we can bring the personal experience of individuals and families affected by food allergies to life. This isn't just about presenting information, it's about creating emotional resonance and helping others see human faces behind the actual numbers.
All right. Do you want to add I saw you both nodding your heads. Do you want to add to that?
I absolutely agree. Something about art. Art has a way of connecting. We're translating the human experience into the most palatable form, right? Somebody doesn't have to speak the same language to see a photo or a painting and have that resonate with them. Somebody may see or hear music, right? You can hear the song, I think about how timeless art can be. You can listen to Marvin Gaye's What's Going On right now, and it is still completely relevant. Mm-hmm. That speaks to how timeless the work was, but also to progress. These are the types of things that we get to experience. We have the experience. We go through the experience as artists so that we can then translate them and amplify the story for others. While everybody can be an artist, and I invite everybody try exploring different art forms. Also, take that time to invest in the artists that are bubbling up within your community. If you are working with youth in particular. So me, they got the message to me when I was young, and the message stayed with me for the rest of my life, and has. And now my 16-year-old is an artist who is also, carrying messages with them as they move throughout life. And so that's something that we get to do. We as organizations, we as government entities, we as restaurants, the collective we get to work with the artists and build out the community that we want to see.
And I'll just add, I know, Jane was talking about how art allows for, you to be connected. But I will also say that art also allows for us to engage in the uncomfortable. So if you think about the range of topics that may be taboo or stigmatized, right? Whether we're talking about sex or HIV or, politics, like whatever it is that's like, I don't know if I want to talk about that. Art forms do allow for you to engage where you otherwise would disengage. So for example, like I said, the reason that we use these art forms in working with youth is because, instead of just saying like, okay, let's have this conversation about sexuality and everybody looking around the room like, who's gonna go first? Like, then it's like, okay, wait. So then you can, we can use songs and we can, have, poetry, we can have skits, right? All of these different ways to, so that they don't necessarily feel like, okay, it's just me, right? We're all creating, and we also can project it and say, okay, we can create this fictional person, right? So it's not just me that standing up here telling my story. It's like, okay, there's this one person and this is what they're going through, and you can add to the story your experiences. So technically it's kind of like everyone built this, composite character that represents all of their lived experiences. And so it's all valid. And I'll also add this last thing about the importance of using art for research, because I wanted to, and this is why I posed a question earlier about the IRB, because when I did my dissertation, I did a, arts-based participatory action research study on youth identity and engaged the youth that were in this peer education program. And I wanted the youth to be co-researchers. And the IRB was like, absolutely not. They can't be co-researchers. You're the researcher. This is your work. So I'm like, okay. So I had to negotiate language so that they were participants with research roles, and, literally, did interviews with them, and they invited them to create an identity map and explore something complex like identity, but then also take their interviews and the transcripts and create data poems. And we literally were able to visualize we had a visual form of their data at an art-based research exhibit. So I'm just giving you just like the tip of the iceberg of the ways that youth were able to engage in research in ways they otherwise wouldn't. But I see now it's time for the
So as they bring the painting, and I'm going to Brian, I'm going to have like you kind of do 1 and 2 together. Is what do you foresee the future of FAIR and using art in our community programs? What are your hopes and dreams? What do you see?
Yeah. I mean, one exciting direction is using community murals and public art to make food allergy awareness visible, daily reminder in public spaces. And I think these artworks can foster conversations around inclusion and safety and really engage people at a grassroots level. I'm also very passionate about empowering those within our communities through the youth art programs. While I studied at Loyola Marymount University, I participated in the Art Smart program, which was brought art into underprivileged public schools in Los Angeles after their art programs were cut from the curriculum. Through this experience, I saw firsthand the profound impact art can have in underserved communities. And art really gives children and teens affected by food allergies an outlet to express their own emotions and challenges through their own inner creative expression, which truly can be healing and turn their voices into advocacy. Collaborative art installations and arts-based education programs also offer an inclusive, interactive way for communities to learn about food allergies while fostering empathy and connection. These initiatives build bridges between individuals, regardless of whether they live with food allergies, and help create a more supportive environment. In fair neighborhoods, art becomes more than just a creative outlet. It becomes a powerful communication tool and means to drive health equity by making food allergy awareness more accessible, understandable, and engaging for everyone. As for a next step, I would love to propose that FAIR initiates a pilot project with FAIR Neighborhoods that partners with local artists and schools to create a community-driven murals centered around food allergy awareness. This would serve as both a creative outlet and a means of fostering inclusion and connection within the community and beyond.
Thank you, Brian. Excellent. I'm going to send you off to get your camera. Let's put Brian to work now. So without any further ado, can I have a drum roll? All right. That was a good drum roll. Very good. All right. Now it is time. This is the moment we've been waiting for. All right. All right. I think we're gonna. All right. We're gonna lift it up so we can, the folks in the back can, oh, there it is. There it is. All right. Oh, it's up right now. Love it. Perfect. Art always delivering the unexpected. All right, now a drum roll. And 3, 2, 1. Oh. Luis, we want to get your picture with it. Over, the lights on the lights better on the other side. There you go. Give a minute. So, Anita Luis is going to tell us, can we get a microphone too? So we're going to ask Luis about the story behind his inspiration and maybe even about your process.
So the inspiration was the community, and everything that FAIR communicated to me about their mission and their vision. And each of the children here are part of my community in Southeast DC. We are a community that we have a very rich culture. We're bringing in the Go-Go Museum, but we are a food desert, and we also don't have the access to the information that kids need to actually have a very healthy life because of the things that we're lacking in our community. One of the things that I mentioned earlier about FAIR is their ability to communicate very clear messages. So I wanted to, communication was a very big part of this, and I wanted to make it so that it was something not technological, but something that I used to use as a child, in which we used to put a cup with a string, and then you walk around and then you play with it. So, yes, I wanted to bring back some old school methods of communication. And the other thing that I really wanted to show is that the youth, and I was very inspired by the young man that spoke earlier, because children do really have a big voice. And I think we need to have more children involved in the things that we do as communities activists. And so all the children that we see here, they're doing something that is in activity. And I also didn't want the children that have these allergies like myself to look at themselves as victims. I want them to look at themselves as victors, and also that they're fighting something that could be a life and death situation. The other thing that I wanted to convey is that we don't need to create art that is so difficult to interpret. We want something that's very simple that anybody can interpret. And that's something that Jan pointed out. And bringing it again, hip hop is something that was spoken about a lot here, and hip hop is something that connects to, young people today. That's what they listen to all the time. And I brought in some of this graffiti kind of style, messaging through the banners and also on the people. And if you see this family here, we have them kind of build like a house, and that kind of creates the safe space. So as you look at the different, models here, everything is very simple. Everything is something that a 3-year-old can look at this and understand it. So my thing is not to create something that is difficult to do. And the other thing that the young man earlier talked about was about the teal pumpkin. That is so important for trick-or-treating during those times, because a child that can pick up a candy and not know that could be something very devastating to them. So bringing that message. So instead of an apple on a computer, we have a teal pumpkin. And the diversity also. We want it to be very diverse because, this is a human, disease. And that's what I learned today. I thought that being allergic to something was a condition, but it is a disease so that's something new that I learned today. So, this was a great, project to work on. And I want to thank FAIR and all of you here today because it really made me feel good to be part of a community that understands the things that I'm going through and that are trying to do something to, further the awareness of, what we have to fight. So thank you everyone for this.
Now, before I hand the microphone over to Anita, I just want, and since this is not the last, Anita's the last section of our day, I want to recognize and appreciate the core team that drove this first Neighborhood Day effort. Anita, stand up. Well, there's Anita. Come on up. Elizabeth, where are you, Elizabeth? Elizabeth and Amber. And Marie. Where's Marie? There's Marie. Yeah. And as always, supported by all of the FAIR staff and our wonderful sponsors, and our partners. So thank you to them too. I thank you all for making FAIR Neighborhood Day an exceptional event. I just hope everyone has learned something new, that you made a new connection, especially that you felt seen and heard in the FAIR community. And I want to leave you with a quote from Dr. Rachel Naomi Remen, a physician, educator, and artist. And she says, at the deepest level, the creative process and the healing process arise from a single source. When you are an artist, you are a healer. A wordless trust of the same mystery is the foundation of your work and its integrity. So we can all be artists in creating an equitable and inclusive environment in the food allergy community. So thank you.